what's going on, guys? Kirk here from Motogear TV. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. And today, as you guys can tell by the title of the thumbnail, we're going to be doing another styling mod to the M2, and that's going to be a carbon fiber rear spoiler. Now, this mod has been something I wanted to do for some time now. There's actually a few different options you can go with for the spoiler. Three main ones in particular. You have the competition style, a PSM style, and you have the CS style. Now, out of the three, personally, I decided to go with the CS style, mainly because to me the CS style gives you the best balance in my opinion. It's not as aggressive as the PSM style, but it's definitely not as subtle as the competition style. So today, just gonna be showing you guys just a quick DIY, taking the original spoiler off, putting this one on. Personally, I think it's gonna look great, so let's get started. There's going to be a few useful tools that we're going to need to get this install done. First one up is going to be the heat gun. Now we're going to use this to get the original spoiler off, just to heat the surface a little bit so we can get the glue soft enough so it's easier to take off. Additionally, we're going to be using some fishing wire just to remove the spoiler. We're going to be very careful with this one because we don't want to end up scratching the surface underneath. In addition to that, and here we have our rubber eraser tool. Now this is going to be very useful in getting off the sticky excess residue. I'm going to show you guys how it's used once we get started, but this is going to come in very handy. We have to use the eraser tool with a drill, so we have that as well. And in order to mount the new spoiler, we're going to be using 3M automotive tape. Now the kit does come with some double-sided tape. This one, however, isn't original 3M, so I'm not going to trust it or use it. And here we have the spoiler, so you guys can see, and voila. And here we have the CS style design. I did pick this up online. It has a nice carbon fiber weave to it. Gloss does have the signature double ridges on both ends. Really nice spoiler. Does have a pretty unique high kick design to the back as well. So looking forward to putting this on. It should look pretty sick. So right now we're going to go ahead and get the surface prepped and get everything started.
Ryan Little.
Okay, now as I said before, we're going to use the heat gun to get the process started. What you want to do, you don't want to have it on a high setting, so we're going to have it on low. Keep the gun about, let's say, about 4 inches away from the spoiler itself. Again, we just want to heat up the surface, so we're going to go ahead and just start from one side to the next, side to side, get the surface nice and heated evenly. Once that happens, then we'll go ahead and use the fishing wire to slowly remove the spoiler and get it lifted off. So now we're gonna go ahead and start using the wire to get it off. Now I heated the surface up slightly. We might have to go ahead and do it again, but this is just to kind of get things started. I want to see exactly how much we need to use. When you're doing it, you want to have the wire pulled up against you. While you're using the fishing wire to get it loose, you don't want to scratch the surface. So in order to do that, you want to go side to side in an upward motion. This thing is starting to cut up my finger, so let's not do that anymore. Surprisingly enough, this is actually pretty easy to work with.
So as you guys can see, this spoiler says F22, so Kirk's car is now at 235.
False.
Alright, so we just did the OEM spoiler off, so you just want to go ahead and just snap the new one right on.
No, that's not how we do it.
Why? It's good. Perfect fit. End video.
Alright, now we're actually going to go ahead and finish prepping the surface. We still need to remove all of the excess glue that's on it right now. After that, we're going to go ahead and put on the 3M tape and then stick this bad boy on and see how it looks. Alright, so here you have all the excess residue that was left on the car all along this side. Quite a bit. I'm gonna use a rubber eraser and remove all of this, and should look pretty smooth underneath. Now this is my first time using the eraser tool, so I'm praying to God that it doesn't scratch the car. Yeah, let's see how it works. Now before we start, I just want to talk about this rubber eraser. I got this online, I think eBay. Pretty affordable. I think it cost me about $9. Feels pretty good. Feels like rubber from what I've seen online. Not a professional, but you just use it on the surface, go slowly side by side, and it should take the residue off.
And we're not responsible for any damage.
Yeah, bear in mind, we're not responsible for any damage to your car, so hopefully I don't damage my car.
Disclaimer.
Oh God.
What to expect.
As you guys can see, we got the surface pretty clean with the eraser tool. To get off the last excess residue, we're going to be using Glue Gun. Now this has been pretty useful for us to get off any type of sticky residue. Just gonna spray it on the surface, allow it to sit for a few minutes, and then we're gonna wipe it off. Alright, so we're all done with getting the surface prepped. Looks really good. The only thing I can see is there is a little bit of a outline from the previous spoiler. Now I think the only way we could really get this out is probably using a polisher and getting it buffed. But because we are going to put a new spoiler on it, I don't think that's a step we need to take right now. But maybe in the future, if we ever decide to change the spoiler, we can go ahead and do that. And now comes the most fun part, actually getting to mount this spoiler. Pretty simple. All we're going to really need is the heat gun, making sure that everything's lined up properly, and yeah, after that we should be done. Alright, and now comes the tricky part, trying to make sure that the spoiler lines up correctly with the trunk. For us, we typically like to use a pretty easy technique, just making sure that the edges on both sides are lined up properly, and also on the back I want to make sure that the edge of the spoiler lines up properly with the line of the trunk. From there, you can probably use some painter's tape to kind of line off the edges, making sure that it stays in place. Alright, So pretty much just laid out all of our reference points, place the spoiler back on the car, we know exactly where to put it. Now comes the final step in prepping the surface. We're just going to put the heat gun on it for a few seconds just to make sure that it's nice and warm. Afterwards, we're going to peel back the edge of the double-sided tape just a little bit. When we get everything lined up properly, then we're going to peel off the backing and then set everything into place. Alright, and that about wraps it up for today's install. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The CS spoiler looks fantastic on the car. Don't have any complaints, the fitment was on point. For those of you who are interested in making a purchase, I'm going to leave the link in the description down below. Now this is going to fit all versions of the M2, and not only that, it is going to fit the 2 Series as well. As I said before, in my opinion, out of the 3 options I mentioned, I think this one is the best option for the car. It fits the lines of it perfectly, and I definitely like how aggressive it is compared to the stock one. Now, as usual, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you smash the like button. If you guys are interested in following the process, make sure that you're hitting the subscribe button down below. We're going to have some more error parts going on the M2 in the next coming episodes, so you're definitely going to want to look out for that. But I think for now, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching this episode, guys. Until the next one, we out.